every Friday.
It is bedlam at the bank!
It's Frantzke Friday.
Simply amazing!
One of our favorite times of the week has returned. It is time for our first Frantzke Friday of the season. Next week, it'll be the day after the first game, which means this is our one chance to preview the season and the team to come with Scott Frantzke, the voice of the Phillies. Scott, how you doing?
Well, I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Well, Scott, I got to ask. I'm glad we get a chance to talk to you before the season starts because I got to ask because we've been making a big deal out of the fact that nobody on the Phillies is talking about winning the division. Why do you think that is? Why do you think there hasn't been that much talk this year about winning the division as opposed to last year?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying they don't care about winning the division, but what they really care about is winning the World Series, and that's what the focus is. I don't know that winning the division is what it used to be. I still think it's a thing. I still think it's a great accomplishment. I think it shows something about your ability to, be the best team over the long haul and survive a lot of ups and downs. But this team is, they've been down the road here a few times, and the road the one they want to end on is in the World Series, and I think they all believe that if they end up short of that, whether they win the division or not, it's going to be a year that they are not happy with.
Scott, let's attack the different parts of the team that we'll start seeing next week against the Nationals Thursday opening day. Scott, a lot of rankings come around this time of year, best teams, best rotations, best all this. And the Phillies, anytime there's a best rotation article, they're right near the top with the Dodgers. How good do you think this rotation could be? And specifically, what have you noticed in what looks like a jump from Christopher Sanchez here from even what he was good last year to what he might be this year?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously his velo is impressive. His command is impressive. Again, it's March. He's not always facing frontline lineups. When you pitch in these spring training games, so the numbers themselves are, the wins, losses, ERA, these kinds of things. They can be a little misleading. But from a stuff perspective, I don't think there's any question that the Phillies, when healthy, have five guys who can throw their name in the ring for, Cy Young votes. I'm not saying they're all going to, could compete to win it, but to be in the conversation to get some votes. They're that good. They really are. And if they're healthy, it has a chance to be a really special group. Obviously, they've got Ranger already with a little bit of back soreness. They don't act, everybody seems to indicate it's not going to be any big deal, but you never know. But I think if they're healthy, I have a feeling we might reference the 2011 rotation a lot this year, when comparing numbers, because I think they do have a chance to be special in the way that those guys were.
Scott, I'm kind of curious when you think of Trey Turner. We've talked a lot about him as well, and his play, and his at bats. Do you think that this year is going to be a little bit of pressure on Trey to produce a little bit more?
I think there's plenty of pressure, on Trey. I think there was pressure on him each of the first 2 years. I mean, it obviously comes from different places. I think we saw the reaction of Trey himself. It looked like he was putting a lot of pressure on himself. But I think fans certainly expect, the front office expects. You give a guy that kind of money and that kind of contract, you expect him to be an all-world player. And so I don't know if there's any more pressure than what there already was, because the expectation is pretty high that Trey needs to produce for this team, given the contract. And that's, any way you, whether that's good, bad, or otherwise, it's what it is. Mm-hmm. And, there was pressure on Bryce, too, to produce with that kind of a contract. And largely he's done that. If he's healthy, if he's been healthy, he's put up numbers. And I think they're looking for the same thing from Trey.
Scott Frantzke joining us here. Our first Frantzke Friday of the spring. Season starts on Thursday in Washington against the Nationals. All right, speaking of Trey, Scott, we have been monitoring very closely the daily lineups to see who is the leadoff hitter in spring training, as the Phillies have been open about maybe a change here. And, Scott, I realized the other day that maybe I had been thinking about this wrong because I just thought it was an A or B, not A and B. So I've noticed a lot of Trey Turner hitting leadoff when a lefty is starting, and Kyle Schwarber hitting leadoff when a righty is starting. Scott, what's your guess on all this? And do you think there's a chance we have two different lineups, and some days it's Trey and some days it is Schwarber?
Yes, I think there's a very good chance of that. I think there's a chance that early in the season we see some different lineups. I think the thing that Rob Thompson, I don't know this because I haven't asked him this directly, and we'll get the chance to do that at some point soon. But is if you go and say X is my Y, for instance, Trey is my leadoff hitter, then the first time you deviate from that, everybody says, "Well, what? I thought Trey was your leadoff hitter." It's just like the closer thing. If I say Alvarado's my closer and then I use him in the eighth, they'll be like, wait a minute, I thought he was your closer. And Rob has never been one to want to manage that way. And so I do not think it would not surprise me at all to see some different lineups coming out of the gates from the Phils. And they may be matchup based. They may be, hey, it's just something I want to see. It may be based on getting certain guys rest on different days or whatever. But I do think we're going to see some different lineups coming out of the gate.
Scott, let's talk about some of the newcomers and your impressions of them so far. Jesus Luzardo, part of that good rotation. Max Kepler, who's looked like he's had himself a good spring here. The new guys that are looking to kind of fill voids and be upgrades in terms of those role players for the Phillies. What have you thought of those guys so far?
Yeah, again, Kepler, if he's anywhere close to what he's looked like in spring training during the regular season, the Phillies have gotten themselves a really good player for $10 million. Honestly, he looks really good. I know they've made some adjustments. Again, just like we talked about earlier with regard to Sanchez, you're not always facing guys you're going to face during the season, and you're not facing guys who are going to be pitching you the same way during the regular season. But just from a standpoint of, the ability, the athleticism, this guy, he's a big guy. Max Kepler. He's a big guy, and Kevin Long believes that they're going to be able to tap into some more of his power that he hasn't had in a few years. I think he'll be fine defensively in left field. I think he's athletic and he looks really good out there. That won't be an issue at all. I think they maybe, if the numbers in spring training suggest anything, I think then they've gotten a steal. Luzardo was great and has been great. I like him. I've liked him for a long time. There's not much to not like about Luzardo. I mean, I will say that we've seen some games where his pitch count can get up there and he can, come out after 5 or whatever because of a high pitch count. But if he's healthy, if he's on, and so far he's felt healthy, he's got a chance to be really good. So I think they both fit in very well. They both are upgrades at what they had before. So they're both good moves in my humble opinion.
Scott, how about the bullpen? If I had to pick one part of the team that I am, I don't know if concern is the right word, but just I'm questioning. Yeah. I want to see what it is. It's the bullpen. I feel like I can guess what the offense will be, and the pitching staff, like you said, the starters should be excellent. They lost a lot, though. Hoffman, although he had a tough playoffs, he was outstanding in the regular season for 2 years. And Estevez, they trusted for a lot of big outs in September and August last year. What do you think about that bullpen? It just feels to me it's not as deep as it was last year, but maybe I'm underrating some guys I don't know a lot about. What do you think about this bullpen?
Yeah, I think, again, tough to gauge on spring training. Alvarado looks amazing, right? Alvarado looks so much better than he has in the last year and a half. If that continues, that's one big step in the right direction. Obviously, you're looking for someone like Ryan Kerkering to take another step and take on more, big outs late in the game. Romano, we haven't, I don't think, seen the full capability yet as far as velocity. He's going to pitch again today, here in a little bit. So, we'll see if he continues to ramp up. I tend to agree with you that's the one thing where I think we're a little more wait and see. I do think they have some depth and some ability, but I do think there's a little bit of wait and see there. Matt Strom, is he fully healthy and is he going to be ready to go? He'll be ready to go at some point. But what the makeup looks like, I think remains to be seen. But I also think there's, you can make adjustments there as you go. Calling on depth pieces, looking at the waiver wire, looking at, possible trades that are out there. So I do think that's something that they're always keeping an eye on, trying to improve.
Scott, as we enter the season, last year, the last time we saw the Phillies, it was the Mets that took them out. The Braves last year had a tough year by their standards. Now they get some guys back healthy. How do you view the competition now? All three could make the playoffs again. I think a lot of people believe they will. Who do you view as the bigger challenge for the Phillies? Is it the Braves in a bounce back or the Mets now that they've added Soto to what they had?
I don't know. I think they're both really good teams. There's a lot we don't know about the Mets, starting rotation or whatever. They've got some injuries there. And they've got some guys that are, someone like Clay Holmes who's coming over to pitch in the rotation now. The Braves obviously getting the big guys back, not only Acuna offensively, Strider on the mound. That's big. They've lost Fried. Fried was a real bulldog kind of competitor who anchored that rotation. I think Strider certainly fits that mold and has better stuff than just about anybody in the game when he's on. So they're both going to be tough challenges. But, I fully expect the Phillies have, a lot of talent as well. And I think this could be very much a three-team race right down to the very end. They could all three get in the playoffs. They might not. I could definitely see that scenario play out where one of them gets, potentially beat out. But I would expect all three to be part of the playoff picture. If they're healthy, all three to be part of the playoff picture throughout the year.
Scott, before we let you go, not only you're part of our show.
You're going to ask me about you. I gotta ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I'm at the batting cage the other day. I'm back and forth a lot. I'm not always down here.
Yeah.
But I was at the cage the other day, and somebody said, "Who was the person who threw out the first pitch the other day?"
No, it was the second one. But I was the second one.
You mean two people threw out first pitches?
Yeah.
But Scott, the divot in the ground in front of home plate, that was huge.
Scott.
The word that was thrown out was embarrassing. That's the word that came out. And I'm like, I wonder who that was.
Hugh, do you know who that was?
It was me, Scott. It was me. But in my defense, I was in Clearwater chilling, and Brazier kind of threw me under the bus.
Are you blaming Brazier?
Yeah, I'm scapegoating. Okay. Scapegoat Douglas on deck right now, and he asked me on the air to throw out the pitch.
Like right then, and you were just
right then and there, and I was not prepared, and I wasn't going to get prepared. So I just said, you know what? Kyle and Joe were laughing because they knew what was about to happen. So I just gave the people what they wanted. That's it. I just gave the people what they wanted.
All right. You were just playing to the crowd.
I was playing to the crowd.
I think the crowd wanted a strike. I'm not sure they wanted the ball to bounce at 55 feet.
Scott, you know what the worst feeling in the world was?
What?
Like, they said, Hugh Douglas, everybody said, yay! And then when I threw the pitch out there, it was like, oh.
You experienced it all, Hugh.
I went through the whole gambit of emotional Philly fans.
Yeah, you did. All right, Scott, while you're with us, because not only are you part of the show, but we know you also get a chance to listen sometimes. So we're doing the bracket of Hughes with all his different personalities on the show. So every caller today, and you get to be part of this, gets to pick a winner as we go through the first round. Are you ready for your matchup?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, you get one of the one seeds you get to have. And we hear him a lot. That would be tongue-tied, Hugh.
Those ambiguity.
Taking on the 16 seed 180 Douglas when he takes an opinion he has and then flips it right back around the other way 10 minutes later. What do you got, tongue-tied or 180?
I said, and is this based on what I would prefer to hear or what I think happens Like,
Well,
how
the better version of Hugh. Your
Which
favorite.
one do you like? Yeah, which one do you like?
Yeah, well, I mean, all you guys are 180s on the.
Well, you're right. I mean, you are right.
I'd say the tongue-tied. That makes me smile.
Yeah, all of us too. Scott, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you a lot. Thank you a lot, Scott.
Scott, have a great
Appreciate you,
week, and we'll be listening next Thursday.
All right, talk to you next week.
Have a good one,
There we
man.
go, Scott Frantzke.